Your success is what we do best at the Blue Collar Success Group.
Sweet. So excited to be able to be coming in for a webinar here at the end of the day. It's East Coast time and it's 3:59 our time. I'm excited. Seeing a lot of familiar faces for today. See some new faces I don't know that I know. So do me a favor really quick. Let's get this thing dialed up and get going. I'm going to need to make sure you have something to write with and write on. Jeff, man, you inspired me. Maybe that's what's going on. Jeff and your hair inspired me to grow mine out. So I got a rat's nest going on top of my head today. So good inspiration, Jeff. Looks good on you, brother. Anthony, good to see you, brother. Glad you're in as well, coming in from the West Coast. Sal, this is two meetings in a row today, man. You're gonna suffer from TMC after today. And if you don't know what TMC is, that's too much Chris. Too much Chris can got it. Yeah, girls like girls. Yeah, I'm gonna tell Chelsea that too. I'm gonna make sure she knows that. So, nonetheless, it is 4 o'clock, and because your time is super valuable, I want to go ahead and get started. A couple things I want to set the tone for you. Number one is you should have something to write with and something to write on. I'm going to do my best to make sure that this webinar ends at 5 o'clock Eastern so you can get back to doing whatever it is you do. Some of you will be jetting out the door, but do me a favor. Don't leave on me early. I promise I've got some really, really good information for everybody today. In addition to that, we're going to do some tactical stuff as we start some of our training. Do me a favor as well. Open up the chat. Just tell me where you guys are from, and then we're going to get going. Just open the chat. Tell me what city or city state or just state, whatever's easiest for you. All right, there's the first one. Seattle in the house. Madison in the house. Yeah, good to see you again, Jackson. Beaumont, heck yeah. How about that? Go Aggies. That was painful for me to say. Sorry, it just came out, Dennis. It just did. I don't know. I don't know if you're an Aggies fan or not. I'm not. I am certainly not. But it just came out because I know where they're at. Tacoma, Washington, Cali in the house. McKinney, Texas. Boston. All right. Got some Boston in the house. Knoxville. Now we're talking. Go Vols. Thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. Glad you're in here as well. Dallas. Las Vegas. I was actually on a podcast yesterday, and they were talking about Dallas, and I said, "Will." And by the way, William Cody, do me a favor. Don't take this personal. I'm from Dallas, but I'm from Dallas, Georgia, and I tell people all the time, the real Dallas. And anybody from Dallas, Texas, argues with me all the time. I'm sure we would have a great conversation about that. Morgantown in the house, West Virginia, Las Vegas in the house, New York, Minnesota, eh? Sandwich, Illinois, Texas, Virginia, Tampa in the house. Hey, there's Jessica right there. Jessica Height is on with us right now from the real Dallas, Dallas, Georgia, my hometown. That's good to see. Boston, Houston, Nebraska. All right, Loveland, Colorado. Uh, North Kakalaki. All right. Cartersville, Georgia. Heck yeah. Not too far from my hometown, Dallas, Texas. Oregon, Connecticut, Denver, Tri-Cities in Washington. Yes, sir. Beham, Birmingham's in the house. Buffalo, New York. Go Vols from Scottsdale. Thank you, Kelly. Massachusetts, Olympia, Washington, and Massachusetts. So thank you for allowing me just to say hello to those that are joining in. Wherever you're joining in, I want to say thank you for tuning in today. If this is your first time joining in to any of our training for blue collar, just do me a favor, buckle up, grab some popcorn. We hope to make it a little entertaining for you, but more importantly, super valuable for you. And I'm going to go ahead. Mitch, good to see you, brother. I see that Gearing Valley hat you got on with the GVP, man. I wear that thing to the gym every morning when I go. So I want to go ahead and get started here today, give you super, super valuable content for you guys to be able to see what you guys are going to be working on today. And today we're going to be talking about the technician revenue revolution. And as a part of the technician revenue revolution, I want to make sure that I got screen share here. Give me just one moment. We get to my Zoom and boom, there we go. You guys should be able to see my screen now. If technology worked correctly, if it did, just give me a thumbs up. Sweet. I see a couple of thumbs. So let's go ahead and get this thing cranked up and get going here today. When you joined for a reason. When you signed up for the webinar, and I want to make sure that we get you exactly what you came for. And as a part of you coming and showing up today, I'm going to do my best to deliver as much value as I can in a short amount of time. And I recognize that time is important and value is important. So let's talk about industry evolution for a moment. And I've been in the industry now for almost 30 years, but back in the day when I first started, the historical process looked a little something like this. Client would call, there was a price that was quoted. An estimator might give a price, reconfirm it when they get out there, and then a technician would go back out and do the work. And so it would really take 2 visits to get done for what a customer needed to get done. And then all of a sudden, we decided, you know what? Let's do it a little bit different. And so now our industry is really around the client calls, they book the job, and we send a technician out. That technician's going to diagnose or evaluate what work needs to be done, and then they're going to sell it and then complete the work. And I understand that the transition that we made while we made it, it's more efficient for the homeowner, it's better for the business. But the challenge is now recruiting is important. And when we're recruiting people, now we're looking for people that have good sales communication skills and have good technical skills, being able to accomplish both tasks at hand, which is price the job and sell it, and be able to actually complete the work. And so when we look at today's process, it opens up this opportunity for all of us as we think about it. But with the opportunity also is going to come a challenge. Most technicians are only going to focus on just repairs, right? And when they only go in and they've got blinders on, and I know this happens as an owner, I know this. Some technicians go in homes like this and they just fix the things that they're called for, and that's it. They don't want to be viewed as a salesperson. So because of that, it can leave, 60 to 80% of revenue on the table. And when you think about 60 to 80% of the revenue being left on the table, I just want to say this, like, you don't have to use your calculator to do the math, but you understand that there's an opportunity to grow in your business. And when I say there's an opportunity for you to grow in your business, doesn't matter how great your company is today. I guarantee you, within 5 minutes of us looking at a dispatch board and reviewing some invoices, we would find opportunity. Now, maybe your opportunity is not as high as, hey, Chris, we already got a pretty strong average ticket. Our close rates are pretty good. But what are the other opportunities, right? And so I remind you that people that are solution providers are going to get higher referrals than just an average repair tech. So really helping to transform our team into revenue generating people. And I'm going to talk 5 areas today that are going to create this revolution for you. This is where you're going to have pen and paper, and you're going to have to write really fast, okay? I'm going to cover them, and I'm going to cover them in depth, but I don't want you to miss any of them. Number 1 is building the right foundation. When we think of building the right foundation, we think of no matter how beautiful or how sound a structure is, it's only as good as the foundation. And so we've got to make sure that we've got the solid foundation in place for us. So let's start talking with the hiring process. We're going to make the assumption today that moving forward, this is going to be our process. Now, what about our current team that we've got today? I'm going to give you some solutions for those as well. But I want to start with, we've got to hire the right people. And when we look at hiring the right people, we're hiring for attitude and training on skill. Most people are trying to hire for skill and really overlooking the attitude component. And we heard somebody say today in one of our membership meetings that team members became cancers to the business. They became dark clouds that were looming over the ground. And so the sun can't shine on the ground when there's clouds that are in the way. And so sometimes team members and their attitudes can get in the way of that. And don't just be focusing on, yeah, man, this is a really good technician. I know they're really good, technically sound, unless you're hiring for just an installer, right? And when I say just an installer, that's all you're going to get out of them. You're not going to have a good quality team member out of them. So it's a very short-sighted thought to not hire for attitude. Attitude for me is one of the most important things that you can hire for. And then you start looking at things like behavioral interviewing questions with scenario-based questions. And let me give you a few of those here today, because it's important that you prioritize your communication skills and customer empathy over technical skill, because the technical skill, even though it may not be as good, it is something that you can work on when you're thinking about how someone acts and reacts in a situation. That's their MO. It's how they're built. You're not going to be able to really change that. So I ask a series of questions, of which we teach to our members, called the perfect interview, that you ask the same questions consistently over and over again when you're interviewing people. Don't ask 5 questions over here and 6 questions, because you know how it works, right? We sat down the interview, and depending on how prepped I am as to what questions I ask, that's why I'm a big fan of having a standardized process in which you ask. And this isn't a corporate job, but I'm a big, big fan of this, asking consistent questions. Now, let me talk to you about a situational question for a moment. What does that actually mean, Chris? What is a scenario based question? Once I've kind of checked the boxes on technical expertise, I ask this question: Joe, imagine that you're in a homeowner's house and you quote the job, and the customer says to you, "Man, that's a lot of money. How much would you charge me to do this for?" How would you respond in that situation? And at that point, just sit back and watch the body language, pay attention to facial expressions, and listen to the words that are used. Here's another great situational question that I love to ask. You're standing in the parking lot and you overhear some technicians, and I'm making an assumption that you don't allow people to moonlight or do side work and stuff like that to be able to make ends meet. If you do, that's okay, totally fine. But imagine your business, you don't allow that. You don't want people doing side work, right? Taking away or hindering or distracting. And you overhear in the parking lot 3 colleagues that are out there talking about a side job that they're all doing together. What do you do about that? Or another scenario where a customer says, "What if I pay you cash under the table?" How do you respond to that? Always ask questions and then ask, "How would you respond to that?" Or "What would you do?" These are good scenario based questions that not only test character, but also test for what kind of communication skills they got when they're asked a very difficult question, right? That's not a question that you might typically hear in an interview. Then in the second part of the hiring is creating success profiles. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to define attributes of high performers. Go look at your team today. Find out what their interests are. Are they interested in sports? Or what kind of activities are they interested in? What's important to them in their work-life balance? What are things that they consider to be important to them, right? Identifying what's important to these top performers, and what you're going to find is a commonality. And so now I can use those when I'm recruiting, and I'm using that as a part of the interview. Tell me about certain things. Now, remember, key, certain things you just simply can't ask in an interview, right? Certain things you can't do legally and ask in an interview. But if you can get people to talking and get them comfortable, you'd be surprised. They're sometimes like an open book, and they'll tell you anything you want to know. But you've also got to make sure that you balance technical and people skills. So identifying people that say to you, "Yeah, I'm a really good salesperson," or "I'm a really good performer." When you're looking at that, asking questions like this: "Great. If it's none of my business, just tell me it's none of my business. But how much money did you make last year selling?" That'll tell you a lot of stuff about them, right? "Oh, I made $40,000. I made $50,000." And you're looking going, "Gosh, my average person makes 75 or 80." Or they say, "Hey, I'm accustomed to making 100 to $120,000 a year." Okay, great. And now I'm going to ask additional questions just out of curiosity. Do you have any of your performance numbers? Or I ask this question: "Is that verifiable?" Now, when you do this, what you're doing is you're really just getting involved with the person, getting to know them. And I know what you're saying right now, Chris. I would never ask those questions in an interview. And if you continue to do the things you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. And you sometimes have got to ask the difficult questions as a part of the interview to make sure you're getting the right person. And then in addition to that, we talk about this: making sure that team members understand what kind of opportunity exists in the business. What I mean by that is having for yourself a clear progression path. In other words, if I hire you in today, this is the position that you're looking at. But if I can show them a good visual of what that path can look like for them, you're going to find in many cases that you're going to have people that are very eager and they're looking for opportunities. Let me say this again: top performing people are looking for opportunities. It's one of the 4 keys to recruiting and retaining top talent, which is show them the opportunity that's available. One of the easiest ways to do this is an organizational chart. Having for yourself a plotted out org chart of what your future business would look like with boxes that have opportunities listed on those, whether it be in sales, management, moving over into install, maybe moving into the warehouse, whatever their pathway that they want to choose, but giving that good visual. And when you create good, clear progression paths, what you're going to find is top performers want to be there, right? Example, if I played on a sports team, a football team, so to speak, and I'm first string, well, if I'm second string, I need to know what is required of me to be a starter. If I'm third, I need to know what's required of me to move up to second. What coach? What am I missing? Tell me what skills I need to work on. And see, now when you've got a progression path and people know what the progression path is, now they can ask good follow-up questions to identify what do I need to go to work on for myself. And that's where you go find the go-getters. When go-getters walk in the door and they see no clear path, you're going to have a very, very hard time landing that top talent to come into the business. Once we've got them hired, we got to have effective onboarding. The purpose of this is to create, and I want you to write this down. The purpose is to create independence, not dependency. Can I get a witness on that? Right? It's like I'm not looking for a bunch of technicians and salespeople that need me all the time. So this is where you find that your phone is ringing off the hook all the time, asking you questions. So it goes back to effective onboarding. So I start with integrating sales training from day one, introducing them to our sales process, our selling system, how it works, everything from the phones to the dispatch to the running of the calls. A holistic approach is going to benefit you tremendously here. And then in addition to that, creating mentor partners for them. This will allow you to take some of the workload off of yourself as you're helping those other team members to get better at what they're doing. So in my business, I had what we called field supervisors. As a part of our hiring process, I had a 4-week onboarding process. Very specific things that were done in week 1, week 2, week 3, and in week 4, all of which was wrapped around a mentor in the business that was referred to as our field supervisor. The field supervisor was showing the new technician the ropes, teaching them how to do what needs to be done over the course of 4 weeks, very systematically, not just, and by the way, because I know what you're like, 4 weeks? Are you kidding me, Chris? 4 weeks before you let them go run calls? 100%. That's how important it was to me. Now, why did I do that? Because I wanted to make sure I set them up for success. I set them with somebody that was a team player that is going to help them and invest in them and make sure that they get up to speed quickly. Why? Because the field supervisor was a progression path to guess what? The next position, the manager position. And if I can do this position good and I can showcase that I'm great at this, then that's going to open up the opportunity for me to move to the next level. After that, you've got to make sure you set clear expectations around performance. What I mean by that is don't measure everything. Let me say that again. Don't measure everything. As a small to medium business, there's only a few things that you can track. As a larger business, you can add things to that, but be careful that you don't overwhelm the team member with that. A couple of things I like to track, I can just share with you what they are here today. Close rate, average ticket, billable hour efficiency, and build hour. I'm just trying to understand what my efficiency is and what kind of revenue. Remember this, sales are vanity and profit is sanity. And the only way we can do that is to understand what drives profitability through a technician. The way we do that is through understanding what their efficiency rate is when they're in the field. In other words, if they're only billing out 4 hours a day and working 10, their efficiency is at 40%. If my pricing is based off of 50%, I've got an underperforming technician who, by the way, may have an 89% close rate and a $1,200 average ticket. Yeah, 100%. That's the reason why I like to expand it beyond close rate and average ticket to identify top performing technicians. Number 2, I told you I was going to give you 5. Number 2, essential training components. What does that mean? I've got to make sure that as a part of my training of technicians that they understand homeowners' fears. Some of the fears that they have are things like being taken advantage of, buying things they don't need, being sold things that they don't need, and being taken advantage of as well. And so when we think about that, we've got the fears. I don't know what things are going to be. Then you need to also help them to understand what are the motivations. And by the way, this was a study that was done by the Boston Market Research Group of service companies and homeowners. And the number one question that they asked was, what is the most important thing to you when it comes to a service provider? And the Boston Market Research Group brought back what I thought was amazing. The number one thing was the homeowner wanted to get back to normal as soon as possible. Think about that. So that means timing is important, our efficiency, how we communicate, because now we want to talk about what it looks like to get back to normal. Along with that, decision triggers, making sure that they understand how to overcome objections, recognizing things that are buying signals when they're in the home. And understanding when someone is going to give an objection by reading body language, stuff as simple as what is the body language when we walk in the door? We teach this in the Professional Tech Academy. When we walk in the door and we're invited into a home, pay attention to the body language. One of two things are going to happen. They're either going to open the door, step aside, and let the technician walk in and pay attention, or based on the way they're trained, they'll open the door and turn around and walk and take the technician to wherever the request is. This is a good signal to be able to teach technicians to know, because why? I'm telling you, I was not trained as a salesperson. I was trained as an electrician, and a really good one. Somebody had to then teach me the separate skills of communication and sales. And this is the technician revenue revolution, is when you and I are focusing on helping to skill up our technicians specifically in the area of sales and communication. When they're doing things that build trust through things like active listening and providing empathy, which by the way is a skill that has to be taught. This is a key that helps technicians to become better communicators, even when they may not feel like they're a salesperson. And let me be very clear. This training today is not to turn technicians into salespeople. However, let me say this. Some technicians understand that they're in sales and they're okay with it. Others don't want to be in sales. And at the end of this webinar today, I'm going to show you how you can help the technicians that don't want to be in sales become better communicators without being in sales. B is options presentation. I could probably stop and talk for an hour here alone. When we think about sales and presentations, teaching them the good, better, best methodology. I'm not here today to argue with you that 6 options and 8 options and 10 options and 4 options and I'm not here to argue that today. I'm just telling you this. Less is better. Less is more. And so when you and I can focus on a good, better, best scenario when they're selling in the home, their close rates are going to go up. Their average tickets are going to go up because it's easier to explain what the customer's buying. I had a technician that worked for me whose name was Derek. Derek was one of my top salespeople. He sold based on grocery listing. But here was the interesting thing. Derek would grocery list, which means he would tell the customer everything that needed to be done. And then from there, he would explain it and go, should we do that? Yes or no? Should we do that? Yes or no? And he created the customer's wish list based on grocery listing. And here's what I learned. That's not scalable. Derek had a very unique personality that had a way to be able to really communicate effectively when it came to grocery list selling. What we found in our business was it was very duplicatable and it was very predictable to give us the outcome that we were looking for when we taught technicians the good, better, best scenario. Meaning that when you're building your options, build your best option first, and then replace or delete items to make your better scenario, and then replace or delete items from the better to create the good. So the customer only picks one option. When I hear contractors say, oh yeah, we sell on options, and then you look at the options they're giving, one option is a water heater, one option is a toilet, and one option is a service agreement. That's not option selling. That's still product selling. And the challenge with it, now you got to get 3 yeses, not just one. So once again, option selling is the key. Selling off good, better, best, not 4, not 6, not 8. Number 2, visual diagnosis tools. This goes all the way down to If you're a plumber, depending on what the scenario is, what visual tools have you given your team to be able to sell with? And I'm not talking about expensive stuff. Not everything has to be expensive. I'll give you an example for my electrician friends that are on right now. Something as simple as an ideal sure test, right? The evidence is that when I plug this in the wall, it spits numbers out and it shows you information. Be thinking in those kind of terms because seeing is believing. And when we also think about that, we've got to be able to create a sense of urgency in our presentation. But we've got to be careful to not try to force the customer to buy by using scare tactics or getting them to feel like their arms kind of behind their back and being twisted to get them to buy something. That's very short term. And I'll tell you, there's two types of people, the found and the found out. And those that use scare tactics will eventually get found out. So make sure that when you're looking at your training that you're very focused on making sure that our technicians know how to do this and know how to do it very well. And then the next part of that is language transformation. You're going to need to be replacing technical jargon with customer friendly explanations. And I'm not talking about giving some gadget or widget some cool whiz bang name. That's not what I'm talking about. That for me is a smoking mirror and it's cheesy, sleazy sales tactics. We don't teach that here. This is a mental shift for technicians. We're not here to fix things, but we're here to solve things. When we think about educate and relate, let me give you an example. I explained to a homeowner that they need to have GFIs in their bathroom. As a part of having GFIs in the bathroom, so what? Who cares? But if I said a GFI outlet is kind of like an airbag on a car, the airbag is there in case of an accident, in case of a dangerous situation, and it's designed to be able to help save someone's life. See, this outlet is very much like that airbag. It's only going to trip in the event that there's a dangerous situation that someone could be harmed in. That is educate and relate at its finest. And I could continue on and on. Once again, we only have an hour, but I could continue on through all three trades and give you how to educate and relate. A friend of mine owns an electrical company in Northwest Arkansas. They have 9 locations across the country. And this is one of the things that he'll tell you in their sales process that really drives things home for them. They teach their techs to educate, then relate. And also a mental shift from, I'm just here to fix a problem. Think about the language. I'm here to provide you solutions. I'm not here to fix a problem. I'm here to provide solutions. And key phrasings are going to increase the perceived value when your team can learn how to wordsmith and use not, now I'm not talking about $10 words. I'm talking about $2 words still, but I'm talking about ones that matter, ones that mean things. Number 3 of 5, training and implementation. We think about training and implementation, we've got to make sure that we have a good rhythm. Training rhythms are to include, not limited to, include 15-minute daily huddles. Really quick, somebody do me a favor. Open the chat. How many people today are doing huddle meetings on a consistent basis? Just type it in. You're doing chats on a consistent basis or huddle meetings on a consistent basis. Yep. And what this does, yeah, exactly, right? Good for you, Gareth, as well, and Jade as well. You guys are saying like, yeah, with some of the team, and yeah, that's right, James. Not everybody needs a daily huddle, but I'm talking about the people that are going to go out and produce revenue. No better opportunity than to be able to grab the attention of a team member right then and there. Yeah, thank you, Tim. And really be able to get their attention focused. A lot has transpired since the last training meeting, right? They've been out running calls. They went home for heaven's sake. They had home life. And so how do we get them to be that constant reminder? And remember, the 15-minute huddle should not be a browbeating. Let me say that again. It can be, but I'm going to tell you, people are going to get to where they hate your huddles if all you ever do is beat them up when they show up. Think about what you can do in that 15-minute meeting to build them up, give them confidence, give them motivation as they're going out the door to go serve their customers, right? And then regular skill practice and situational training. Now we're really big on this here at Blue Collar. And what I mean by that really big on this is how you do it is important. A lot of people say that they quote, yeah, we role play, but I'm telling you, if you role play incorrectly, all you're going to have is really upset team members that don't want to go to training. If your team members don't want to role play, there's something wrong with the way you're facilitating it. I don't have time today to go into that, but it should be a part of a regular cadence. How often should it be, Chris? I don't recommend that you do it at every training. However, think about sprinkling in skill practice. If we're learning something new, I definitely want to skill practice, or I do skill practice to reinforce. And if you do it correctly, team members will actually love it. In addition to that, in-depth development of specific skills. Like maybe I'm going to have in my training rhythm, today we're only going to focus on objection handling and we're not going to focus on 10 of them. We're only going to focus on, I want to think about it. We're only going to focus on, I need to get three estimates. We're only going to focus on, I need to speak to my spouse. And see, now what you've got is the training goes deep instead of wide. And now what you got on your hands is something to where team members can really, really, really take that and use it that very same day when they go out, should they face one of those objections. I mean, I'm going to say this. Field coaching is probably one of the most powerful things that a business can do. And it's the number one thing that service managers hate to do. They hate to do it. They hate to go do this. And because it forces them to get out of the office and go get in the field. And remember this, why is it that they hate to do it? I'll tell you why. Most service managers at one point were based out of the field. When they got promoted, they were like, great, I'm hanging the tools up. I don't ever have to go back to the field again. Now, the moment that you ask them to go back to the field, they almost feel like they're going backwards. This is why you, as a manager or owner, you've got to position what they're doing is not going back to the field. This is about structured ride-alongs with immediate feedback. And I'm going to talk about immediate feedback, not during the call, but after the call. Some coaching is involved, but not as in depth. We're not going to say, hey, let me tell you everything about this call that you just did, right? But what I do want to do is I want to be able to provide, if there was some good little nuggets, I want to reinforce, hey, you did this really good. This was awesome how you did this. Notice the customer responded this way. When you did this, though, however, the customer did this. We're coaching them, right? We're coaching them up. And recording customer interactions. I'll say that there's software out there that does this. If not, you need to get your rear end in the field and start paying attention and learning what's going on. It was some of the greatest relationship building that I did when I got in the field and rode with my technicians. And by the way, it doesn't mean you get in the truck and ride all day. That's not what a ride along is. You can have pop-in visits, you can have call visits, you can have day visits. There's so many different ways that you can get this done. But more importantly, the most important part is good, positive reinforcement. Now, I know many of you come from old school, and you might look a little something like this. You walk out of the call, and this is exactly this is the look of a quarterback that just threw an interception. That's the look. That's what you see right there. Notice this coach didn't come out and say, hey, let me tell you all the ways that you've been screwing up out there on the field, right? What I'd say is stay away from negativity. You coach during that play, that quarterback's not going to be good. In other words, if they constantly have to look at the sideline to figure out what the play call is, once the play is ran, go run the play. If you don't execute on the play, then I will coach you on that. Hear me out. Service managers, do not, during the call, while they're running that call, and I know that this happens, you see the call, right? And I'm going to ask how many people are guilty of this. Be honest. The call starts going south and you can feel it. That's exactly how it feels. And what do? You step in. And you're like, oh, let me fix this really quick. Nobody learned anything at that point. Who's guilty of it? Just give me a thumbs up in the chat if you have been. I didn't say are currently. How many people have been guilty of this before, especially when it's a good call? Yep. Thank you, Jackson. I appreciate that. Yep. Tony as well. I was guilty of that. Adam, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for the honesty, right? Yeah, you as well, Jeff. Danielle. We do this. Why? because we're like, watch this, step aside. I'll show you how this is really done. But see, that's not the environment in which to do that. That's at the end of the call, right? At the end of the call, it's let's talk about what went well. What do you think you did well at? How do you feel like you did? Well, obviously you didn't sell the call, and we could get in the truck and be like, slam the door and be like, that really sucked. You did an awful job of that. That was a really good call. That team member is not going to respond positively at all to that, right? They're just not going to respond to that. So what I encourage you to do is remember this: for every what I'm going to call coaching opportunity, or for every negative feedback you give, you have to be able to give a positive. Don't give me 5 negative things that I need to fix if you can't give me 5 things I did right or more, right? And what this does is it gives that offsetting effect. And then when you think about this, like I give you this as a picture because we might feel this way. Like, let me just tell you all the ways, right? And it's not going to benefit anybody, right? You want to be focusing on coaching them up. And as a part of coaching them up is really the development component. And I'm going to say this as we move on from number 3. You got to care. You actually got to care. And if you don't care, you might be in the wrong business, because newsflash, this is a people business and people are a part of this thing. And if you don't like people, you probably should be looking for something else to do. And I know that might come across a little harsh, but this is a people business. So I've got to care about people. Number 4, supporting tools and systems. I'm really excited about number 4. Remember, these are 5 steps to creating a technician revenue revolution. Let's talk about mobile enablement. What I mean by that, it's not just a tablet. It's not just an iPad. It's a tool. And when I use the word tool, they're designed to accomplish things. If all they're doing is using the tablet to build an invoice and dispatch themselves, you're missing a massive opportunity here. Think about things where you have tablet-based presentation tools with visual aids. I'm not talking about a PowerPoint. I'm talking about having good visual aids. And by the way, I'm going to date myself. Back in the day, I just had a book. I had an old-fashioned book that I used. I didn't even use a tablet because I didn't have one, right? When I do this, I would use things like independent articles, third-party article verifications, letters of reference, letters of referral. Sometimes, and I want you to think about this, I can't hear you, but I want you to finish this statement. A picture is worth exactly. And sometimes before and after pictures can be leveraged. I wouldn't get them out because I'd really date myself. You're right, James. I had an abacus. I used Polaroid pictures in sales presentations in my early days because that's what I had. I had Polaroid pictures of before and after pictures. And I'm just telling you, when you're setting with a customer and you're showing them this stuff, it positions you as the expert. If your team thinks they're going to sell just on communication alone, they're missing a massive opportunity. So I want you to ask yourself the question right now. What third-party articles and verification do I supply my team to leverage and use? Now, whether they use them or not, that's a whole nother conversation. But I want you to, this might be your biggest takeaway from the entire thing. I'd like for you to go list out what all you have. What website? So example, my electricians, what about a Consumer Product Safety Commission guide, homeowner guide? Like having that thing. I had one of those when I was in the field. Well, I got a code book. Yeah, bullshit. Who cares about a code book, man? I don't care. I'm an electrician and half of it doesn't make sense to me, right? Like that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to use customer friendly stuff. So pictures and things that are written for customers, right? When I can sit down, and I'm using several electrical examples here, so forgive me for being electrical heavy. But if I'm sitting with a homeowner and I'm saying as a technician, when I say, Mr. and Ms. Customer, one of the reasons why I would like to talk to you about your home and the safety is because I noticed that the smoke detectors that you have in your home, it looks like they probably have not been replaced in a long time. I'm just curious, how old do you think your smoke detectors are? The customer's probably not going to know. You say, okay, great. Did you know that they had a life expectancy? No, I didn't know that. Would you like to know what it is? Yeah, sure. Well, it's 7 to 10 years, and on the back of your smoke detector, there's a born date, and it'll tell you what year the manufacturer said that they made it. After 7 to 10 years, it needs to be replaced. And what I'd share with you is, according to the U.S. Fire Administration, and I got an article, by the way, instead of me just saying this, because this is where scare tactics can come into play. But if I've got an article that says the U.S. Fire Administration says that having properly operating smoke detectors in your home increases your likelihood of surviving a fire by up to 75%. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? Right? So now I'm having a real conversation with a customer using tablet based presentation tools that are visuals that help me communicate my point much better. And then when you think about things like having access to customer history for, the last time a technician was out here, I noticed they talked about XYZ. I mean, this is where it's at. This is exactly where you're going to really get more bang for the buck. And then customer education materials. Once again, homeowner decision guides, having a repair versus replace graph. And this is not just for HVAC, by the way, but the one we are looking at right now is an HVAC component. And this is where a technician would then take a dollar amount of a repair based on an age that the company has built that says, hey, at this point, it looks like you probably should consider replacement. And then I just look at the customer and go, would you rather me go ahead and fix it? See, that's great sales training. I'm leveraging this visual tool to be able to generate the interest. Do you want me to fix it or do you want me to replace it? And now what I'm looking at is no longer needing to sell anything. The reason why I say that is because sales only take place when there's a transfer of belief. And all I'm doing is I'm taking what I believe as a technician to be true and I'm translating that over to my homeowners. And when I do that and I do it effectively, the result is revenue. And you showed up today and said, I want my technicians to have a revenue revolution. And to do that, you got to make sure you focus on these 5 areas. Well, this one we can't not talk about, and that's cultural transformation. This is really about your team makeup. And when I talk about your team makeup, I want you to think about what they say without saying anything. Identifying natural sales mentors in your business, people that care about other people. I'm not talking about the highest salesperson. Hey, come up to the front and teach people how to sell. They may not want to do that. They don't care, right? Sometimes top performers might want to be a little bit more of the lone wolf and they just want to go do their thing. But every now and then you'll find one that's the natural born leader and they're going to want to be able to share and pour into other team members. Make sure you also address any technical oriented resistance quickly. And I'm going to say this, your team will tell you that they don't believe in a product or a solution or a process. It's when they don't do it or when they don't get on board. And this decision may be the most important takeaway for you today. If you roll out, example, if I'm a HVAC contractor and I roll out a new indoor air quality product and the team is just not selling it, there's a reason why. I can get in front of them and say, dadgummit, you guys got to go. I can do that all day long, but really what I should do is seek to understand what is it about this product of the reason why we're not offering it. And you don't ask them that. Do I believe that this will actually fix homeowners' problems? Yes or no? Okay, great. Does my team believe in that? Well, I don't know the answer to that. I told them we had a training. I brought the vendor in, Chris. We did a training on it. I stocked the truck. It's probably because they don't believe in the product. And if they believe in the product, they'll get behind it, right? They're going to be big cheerleaders of that product. And I'm going to say this, sometimes you got to make tough decisions about team members who just don't fall in line. It's time to cut bait. Let them move on. Your business will be better off for it. We just heard from one of our members today who said this. He was, and I think he's actually on right now. He said, I had to let some people go, but man, when I let them go, the new guys I brought, man, they are lighting it up. Well, why? It's because of this. Sometimes people that don't get on board, there's a lot of underlying stuff that's going on with them and the team and that dynamic that you don't even understand. Mac Anderson wrote a book about this, and the whole concept was don't send ducks to Eagle School. And when you're thinking about hiring people, Ah, well, they're good technical skill. And it goes back to what I said. If they have the wrong attitude, then is this really the right person? I'm trying to teach a duck how to be an eagle. Well, you're never going to teach a duck how to be an eagle, just like you're never going to take. And what I've learned is this: rarely will you move anyone past one level. Let me say that. If someone produces you might say, well, that's kind of a D player on my team. You're probably not going to move that D player past a C. And if you do, you'll only move them to a B, and that'll only be rarely will you make an A player out of them. So if you want a team full of A players, what should you do? Don't hire a bunch of C players. Don't hire a bunch of D players. And more importantly, if you got a bunch of C's and D's, focus on training them. And if they just don't get in line with what you're doing, you got to let them go. And once again, when we're solution focused culture, and I'm going to use the word culture, and I want you to ask you a question right now. I want you to chat it into the box. Do you think that your team, do you think that your team would say that you have a good sales culture? And what I mean by good sales culture is they know that we sell products and they have no problems with that at all. Would you say that your company has a good sales culture? Yes or no? Type it in the box. And while you're doing that, okay, good. Thank you, Brandon. Not surprised by that. Yeah, yes now, right? Thank you for that. Doug, good to see you as well. Chris, good to have you. No, right? And I'm seeing some no's. And John Moody saying, hey, we're getting there, right? We're trying. Yeah, except for one person. Jade, I think you know what I talked about today. One person can't, yeah, begrudgingly. Well, James, that brings up a really good point. Like, I do it, but I don't really like it. Well, this goes back to how do we get people to actually change their mind? And it's all about how you position it. Thank you for everybody that's chatting in, by the way. Jeffrey Gitomer said it best. He said, people hate to be sold, but they love to buy. And so what we've got to do is we've got to frame revenue generating as providing valuable solutions. Bob, good to see you, brother. Go Wolverines. That was painful, but yeah, there you go. It is an ongoing work, and yeah, being here today. How do we get technicians to understand that the money's not is not what we're after? What we're really after is making the homeowner satisfied and feeling good about their purchase. Well, let me just give you a few things today. Number one, the technician that goes in like this and works just became the same thing that they did not want to become. Why? They just became a salesperson. And the reason why I would like to position this for you today is this. The technician is the most educated person when it comes to what needs to be done. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? Just give me a head nod. The technician knows what needs to be done, right? If the technician withholds information, then they're the gatekeeper of what the customer buys. It was their job to only sell this. Or what we see it as, my job is to sell all of this stuff. And see, what I'm going to say is I'm going to flip that on its head for a minute. As a salesperson, when you go in and you only fix the clogged toilet, or you only get the system running back because the capacitor is bad, or you only replace the outlet that was backstabbed, you just became a salesperson. And most people tie revenue to sales. It's how the world works. Well, there's no way somebody would be willing to spend that kind of money if they weren't sold that. Well, would you consider a doctor a salesperson? I wouldn't. I would consider a doctor solving my problem. But if my doctor said, Chris, you really, really, really need open heart surgery. But you know what, Chris? I know that money's really tight for you. And you told me that you were on a fixed income. And you know what? Let's try a pill first. Let's start with that. And 3 days later, I have a heart attack. That doctor sold me into the pill. That's exactly what happened. The doctor, whether intentionally or unintentionally, provided me a solution that they thought was in my best interest. And I'm going to say this. Technicians' jobs are not to do anything other than show customers what's possible. So now when I'm talking about the outlet that's not working, I can tell when I get passionate, my voice gets elevated. So let me tone it down a little bit. But when a technician goes into a home and there's a backstab outlet and that's the one that's bad, but the rest of the room is that way, they didn't really provide a solution. All they did was put a band-aid on it. They got the power established. For the plumber that says, hey, we unclogged the toilet, but they didn't actually identify that this house is 35 years old. And geez, this when's, they're doing nothing. They're doing, and by the way, let me say specifically, say, hey, we flushed something down the toilet and you get it out, you retrieve it. I get that, but I'm talking about a slow drain. And we didn't put a camera in the drain. Are you kidding me? We didn't really fix the customer's problem. We didn't even look at it. You know what we did? We think we saved them money. And what we did was, remember this, I said the number one thing homeowners want is what? To get back to normal as soon as possible. So if I really don't fix the problem, but I just band-aid it because I don't want to act like I sold them anything, I'm going to get into a situation where what happens is I undersell the job by putting a band-aid on it. And yeah, that's what they're doing. They're selling it. So building cross-functional respect between the office and the field is important. You're going to break down the walls with positive interaction with your company meetings, making sure that the teams interact with the office and this call center and the dispatch, because this is a part of that cultural component. Most technicians think call takers are lazy. Most call takers and dispatchers think technicians are lazy, and everybody's got this opinion. Well, how do you get that opinion out of the room? Get people to start meeting each other. Next is effective compensation. Making sure that we have transparent commission structures. Here's how I know if it's good or not. Have your technician explain how they get paid. If they can't explain how they get paid well, it's probably not a good process. And then you want to make sure that you balance individual and team-based goals as a part of compensations as well. What I'm going to say is this: no compensation plan will ever substitute for management. Managers are always going to be needed. Let's talk about implementation and results for a moment. As a part of implementation results, this is the key, okay? So I've given you all the stuff, but how am I going to actually implement it? Well, you got to make sure that you can measure your success, because if you're doing this work and making these changes and you don't know if it's working or not, well, how will I know what needs to be fixed if I'm not measuring it? So do things like track average ticket growth and conversion rates. Monitor customer satisfaction alongside with the revenue metrics. Very simple. Just make sure that we're measuring to make sure that technicians are getting better. Here's your implementation timeline. You can take a picture of the screen if you want to. For the first 30 days, I want you to be focused on that assessment and the foundation building. Get that in place so that as you start recruiting and hiring, you're bringing people in, you're good to go. Then you're going to be focusing on that training and implementation and that tool development. We talked about the training, all the things you need to do. We talked about tool deployment. Go find out what's the list of third-party articles and verification. Example, if I've got articles and things, but maybe the team has them, but they're just not using them. Maybe I need to go back and train them in how to use the tools. Day 61 through 90, this is coaching and reinforcement, right? Making sure that performance management's happening. Now at this point, I've implemented, we've got people using the tools in the field, but I'm not seeing good results. Well, get your rear end in the field and find out, are they using the stuff that you taught them how to use, and are they using it correctly? Take a look at the options they're writing up. You've got to manage it. I just want to say this. You got to manage it. There is no substitution for that. That's why you exist. So what are some of the common obstacles or solutions that you're going to face? Number one is technicians resistance. You're going to go back and start doing some of this, and they're going to say things like, I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to be a salesperson. And then you're going to tell them the same story that I told you about the doctor, and how that because they're the professional, they're the gatekeeper of all the information. So they are going to be a salesperson whether they want to or not. The best way to not be viewed as a salesperson is to give customers all their choices, because now you're not deciding for them. The moment you decide for them what's best for them, that's when you become a salesperson. Then you're going to have customer pushback. Just fix what's broken. Well, that goes back to the sales process that you have in your business that you're following, right? I want to make sure that I say things like, hey, my job here today is to make sure that I go through the entire system. That way I can provide you a permanent solution. I'm sure that's what you want, right? Nod the head. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I want. Then we think about management consistency. And that's the third thing that's really important for you, is staying committed to the process. Let me say this. You need to get it going first before you get it right. Let me say that again. You're going to need to get it going first before you get it right. Now, when we think about enhanced talent management, companies that continuous performance in these systems are going to be 42% better at holding employees accountable, 39% better at attracting top talent, and 44% better at retaining it. The increased goal achievement, or companies with continuous performance systems are 50% more likely to exceed their goals. Simply put, a business that runs on systems is better. And having a structured system in place significantly enhances a company's success because it's going to make their efficiency better. It's going to cut cost. And really, 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 it's going to create a lot of freedom because it's going to enable your team to make better decisions. So, where should you start? Well, first, let me say this. There's two types of systems that are in a residential service company. I know that I'm getting close to time and I'm going to do my best to get you out of here in the next 5 minutes. So, buckle up. I got to go fast. Number one is a business system. This is a system by which the business functions and operates off of. Then there's customer delivery systems. These are additional systems that team members follow on the delivery of the services that your company offers. So let me give you an example. Here at the Blue Collar Success Group, we have what is called the Blue Collar Selling System. And I want you to ask yourself a question. Do we have a system by which we answer the phone consistently every single time, no matter who answers it, on what day, and what kind of day they're having? Whether they've had coffee or not, chuckle, chuckle, that's the Office Champions Academy. The Dispatch Champions Academy is a system by which you dispatch by. Well, Chris, we've got software that does all that for us. Great, congratulations, but there's still got to be a person running that. And then how you run service calls, how you run sales calls, and then actually how you handle big sales calls that come into the office. Because if you book that appointment the exact same way that you book a service call, you're not setting salespeople up for success. That's called the Sales Lead Coordinator Academy. And then certainly an opportunity to have outbounding going on in your business. This is a selling system. Well, when we think about the business systems, we think about things like this. We think about the budget that we're operating off of that tells us what the KPIs should be, that tells us what the revenue should be, that tells us what the expenses should be. And that's a part of the business system. Then you have service agreements. Well, our team is out in the field selling service agreements, and Chris, we do really well at that. What I've come to the realization is that most people don't really have a service agreement program in their business. What they have is they have a discount program in their business, and that's the way it's sold, and that's the way it's managed, that's the way it's priced, and that's the reason why they don't work for you. But if you get it right, they'll actually be great assets to your business. In addition to that, the Sales Lead Coordination Clinic is not just what you say on the phone when the customer calls in and they want a replacement, HVAC or a generator or a panel or a water heater, but it's all the back end work that goes into it to ensure that the selling system is effective. And then that's where Management Growth Academy comes into play as well. Now, I'm not going to run you through every one of these, but I just want to show you that the Office Champions Academy is designed to boost close rates and to help convert calls to appointments accurately and correctly. In fact, people that attend this class tell us things like, hey, one of the things is I've been doing this for 35 years and I thought I knew what I was doing when I took the class, but it enhanced my ability to overcome objections and make me an office champion. When it comes to the dispatch class, the Dispatch Champions Academy is also going to be something like this, right? Trainers did a phenomenal job. They make it fun and engaging and answer the questions. Very thorough, providing specifics and details. The Professional Tech Academy is the process in which you run the call. This is how you run the service call. This is where we're delivering the ultimate client experience. And once again, as you can see here everything from start to finish. This class exceeded my thoughts on what I was coming into, and I had no idea how much I was going to be missing out on, right? The sales specialist is how you run sales calls. This is not the same as a service call. Let me just stop and say this. If you run sales calls the same way you run service calls, you're going to miss a massive opportunity because you're not there to fix, you're there to replace. And that's a different conversation to be had. That's why people like Ernie said, I learned valuable information in this class, and I've been in sales for over 30 years. And if I had these steps then, I wouldn't be working today. I'd be retired and living on a beach somewhere. Thank you. Then there's the outbound champion. This is where we're outbounding for revenue, profits, and customer service. In fact, you can see Rochelle said, another great academy. This is always something to take away, no matter how great you think you're doing. And the coaches here at Blue Collar, as you can see, world class. Well, when you think about your selling system, now you got to think about your business system. What is the management structure that we have in place today that prepares our management team to really excel, making sure that they're clicking on all cylinders? In addition to that, service agreements, making sure that I'm fine tuning this part of the business, even if I already have service agreements. What is it about service agreements that don't work for me? Well, it's probably more than likely either the way you have built them, the way you price them, the way you sell them, the way you service them, or the way that you renew them. Something's probably broken in one of those 5 steps. And if you want to improve your overall performance, then you've got to be thinking about, what do I got to do in these key areas? The Sales Lead Coordination Clinic is proven processes that improve lead quality and client experience, including the strategy that makes sales calls successful. We teach the 4 keys to sales lead coordination in this class. Now, this is the nuts and bolts, and it's a follow-up to the Sales Lead Coordination Clinic. It includes a deeper dive into the 4 keys of how to actually do the business system as it relates to operating with my customer. Now, I want to say this for those that are on right here. I see that people are leaving, and that's fine. You can leave. You came for what you came for, but I'm telling you, you're missing out on probably one of the greatest parts of the entire training. And I'm going to give you an opportunity here in just a moment to take corrective measure. And I'm going to make it so irresistible that you're not going to be like, yeah, no thanks, I got what I came for. Well, we do have a planning and budgeting class for all of our members. If you're wanting to know how to actually build your plan to how many calls, that's available. And we're offering that class at a $24.97 retail investment. You get 25% off. Sorry, if you're not a member, we don't let you attend this class. It is a 3 full day workshop. This is what some of our members are saying. Now, really quick, it's 5:01. I've tried your patience and I can see people have left, but you that have stayed around, you stayed for a reason. You showed up today for a reason. Something was wrong, or you thought you were missing out on opportunities. Either way, I would like to help you out today, and this is what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to offer something to you that will be one of the best, not the best, but one of the best offers that'll ever get made to you as it relates to training. Now, what we do is our training classes that we offer, we do them in person and virtual. Here are a lot of dates that are in front of you. When you look at the classes, and I'm going to show you something in just a minute. This is not timeshare, don't worry about that. But I want you to snap a picture of this. This is going to be an example of everything that's coming up in the fall, okay? You want to get your team clicking on all cylinders, and you want to do it by yourself, go do it. Go do it. We gave you great information today to be able to go do that. But if you'd like to have somebody help you with it, this is where we come in. We come alongside of you and your team. Now, those classes that I share with you do have a retail investment of $24.97, but because you're here today, I'm not going to ask for that from you. I'm actually going to give you a discount of 30% or $749.10. In addition to that, I'm also going to give you an opportunity to break that up over 2 payments. That's $873.95 a month. And then I would also like to make one more thing. Just out of curiosity, how many people, if I stopped right now, you'd be like, yep, thanks, Chris. Appreciate your time. Thanks for everything you gave us. Even if you don't buy a single class from us, has today been valuable for you? Has the information that we've shared with you been valuable for you? Grace, thank you, Sean. I appreciate that. Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate that as well. Jackson, our intention was to provide you value. That sale ends June the 16th. It's 30%. It's the second best offer that we ever make. You won't get a better offer than this as of right now coming into the fall. It's not going to get any better. Don't think as we get closer, oh, I'll wait. This ain't like airline tickets and we sell those things dirt cheap at the end. That's not how it works. And by the way, let me say this, a lot of these classes will fill up coming into the fall because right now It's not the fall. Most people will think about fall training in the fall. So get out in front of this. Don't take advantage of this. Hey, that's totally up to you. My goal here today was to provide value for you within a limited amount of time. And for that, I'm very, very grateful that you've given us your time. Once again, you can visit the website. And then I'm just going to say from my team, thank you so very much for my team showing up, getting this together. But thank you. And more importantly, you should congratulate yourself. You took an hour out of your business to step aside to learn about the technician revenue revolution. We talked the 5 keys that are going to help you to be able to capture more revenue out of your existing team. And more importantly, the things that you need to know about moving forward when it comes to recruiting and hiring and onboarding people. I just want to ask, has anybody got any final thoughts they want to share? Robert Goshenauer, thank you so much, brother. Good to have you in as well. Yeah, Bob, good to see you, man. I appreciate seeing you in as well, Sean as well. Anybody got any questions for Chris? We're off topic now. I'll take questions at this point. I normally would never do this. Any questions? You can chat it or you can just unmute yourself. And we're talking business at this point, so everything is on the table. Webinar's over. Well, I'm not going to sit here and stare at y'all. Y'all don't sit here and stare at me. Either you got a question or I'm going to shut this baby down. There you go. All right. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. James, thank you as well. I appreciate that. And Dave, good to have you in. Each and every one of you that joined in today, we're so grateful to have you. Aaron kicked back in his what looks like a gaming chair, man. That thing looks super cozy, man. I hope that thing was fun. Brandon, good to see you as well. Look forward to seeing you guys soon, very, very soon. And by the way, we do have social media pages. You guys want to go check out our social media. That's free content there as well. We look forward to seeing you guys in a future webinar or any training. Members, thank you guys for showing up today. Y'all take care.
Accelerate your path to success with the Blue Collar Success Group.